Dopamine. Have you ever felt it? That sudden sensation that hits when a notification pops up on your phone, when the game you're playing rewards you, or even when you see your likes increase on social media. It's a feeling you can't control, yet it influences every step you take. What if I told you, we're all trapped in this dopamine trap? You might think you're in control, but in reality, it's controlling you. Dopamine is the happiness hormone, but don't be fooled. This isn't just about temporary happiness. It's about dependency, psychological manipulation, and addiction that lies within you. Every time your brain experiences a dopamine surge, you feel happy. But that happiness is fleeting. What happens after that? You start feeling unsatisfied, constantly seeking more and repeating the cycle. It's as if dopamine creates a hole that can never be filled. You want more faster and more often, and the world knows exactly how to exploit it. Imagine this. Every time you open social media, a game platform, or even watch videos on YouTube, the systems behind the scenes are working tirelessly to manipulate your brain. They know that you'll keep coming back for more dopamine, quicker and more frequently. You feel addicted without even realizing what's happening. If you're not careful, you'll find yourself trapped in an endless loop, where happiness is just an illusion. Do you feel challenged to break free from this cycle? Think again. Are you ready to face the reality that dopamine could be controlling your life without you even knowing? We'll dive deeper into this, but before that, we need to understand what dopamine really is and why we're so easily influenced by it. What is dopamine? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a crucial role in our central nervous system, often referred to as the happiness hormone. A dopamine is responsible for processing signals that regulate many aspects of human behavior. However, the term happiness hormone often misleads us. While dopamine is linked to happiness, it is more often associated with goal achievement and the drive to take action. Dopamine is produced in several areas of the brain, but it is primarily generated by two key regions, the ventral tegmental area, VTA, and the nucleus accumbens. These areas play a significant role in generating the feelings we associate with satisfaction and motivation. When we do something pleasurable, such as eating our favorite food or listening to music we enjoy, our brain releases dopamine. This makes us feel good and encourages us to repeat the behavior. However, what we often don't realize is that dopamine is not just released after an accomplishment or reward. Dopamine is also released when we predict achievement or when we're in pursuit of something. For example, when you're waiting for a lottery result or anticipating a response to an important message, dopamine starts to work. Even before you get what you want, your brain is already signaling that victory is on its way. This is why we often feel alert, excited, and full of hope in pursuit of goals, even though we haven't yet received any reward. Yet, there's a darker side to all of this. Dopamine works very closely with the brain's reward and motivation systems, but this system doesn't care whether the goal we're chasing is good for us or not. When we hone ourselves to seek more dopamine, we can become trapped in excessive pursuit patterns. This is the mechanism used by many apps, video games, and even social media to hook their users. Dopamine makes us feel like we want more likes, more notifications, more things that give us that fleeting sensation. But this is the big problem in today's digital world. Everything is designed to give us constant dopamine hits. From social media apps that give us likes and comments, to games that provide new levels, to constant notifications that make us feel connected and relevant. This is the dark side of dopamine that is rarely discussed. The reward system that is meant to be used for positive things is instead exploited to make us addicted. In other words, dopamine controls our desires. And because those desires are never truly satisfied, we get stuck in an endless chase. Like a rat in a wheel, we keep running without ever reaching the destination. This is the harsh reality that many people face today. However, if we truly understand what's happening in our brain, we can begin to control dopamine. How do we do that? Keep reading, because this is the key to overcoming dopamine addiction. Dopamine has a very powerful attraction to our brains. As a neurotransmitter involved in the brain's reward system, dopamine not only triggers feelings of pleasure when we achieve a goal, but also influences how we respond to external stimuli. This is why dopamine is often associated with addiction. Dopamine addiction, although not always identified as a physical dependence on a substance, can have a profound impact on our mental well-being. When we talk about dopamine addiction, we're not just referring to addiction to drugs or alcohol. Dopamine addiction can stem from many types of behavior that stimulate our brains to release large amounts of dopamine. Social media is a prime example. Every time we see a notification or receive a like on our post, our brain releases dopamine, giving us a sense of reward. While this may feel good in the moment, the long-term effects can leave us feeling trapped in a cycle of seeking satisfaction that never ends. When we're constantly exposed to stimuli that increase dopamine, our brains become accustomed to the little wins that come so quickly. Over time, we start to feel stimulated only when we get more likes, more comments or notifications that we have a new message in our app. Like a rat in a psychology experiment studying reward-seeking behavior, we begin to feel that we need to do more to get more rewards from our brain. However, what needs to be understood is that dopamine addiction isn't limited to the digital world. It can also happen with everyday habits that seem harmless. For example, shopping addiction, overeating, or addiction to physical activity. All of these lead to one goal: to stimulate the brain in a way that makes us feel better in the short term. Every time we feel an achievement or reward, we get a dopamine boost that gives us a sense of comfort and excitement. But the problem is, our brain is never truly satisfied. Even though we get many rewards or short-term satisfaction, we always want more. This is what traps us in an endless cycle of addiction. The feeling of happiness or pleasure we experience is fleeting, and once we have it, we start looking for more. More notifications, more rewards, more sensations. Dopamine reorganizes our desire system and pushes us to keep chasing happiness that comes from the outside, not from within ourselves. However, dopamine addiction isn't a fate that can't be avoided. The key to breaking out of this cycle is understanding and managing dopamine wisely. Before we discuss how to control dopamine, it's important to understand more deeply the impact that dopamine addiction can have. What happens to our brains and lives when we're overly exposed to dopamine-stimulating stimuli? Keep reading, because this is crucial to understand. Positive effects of dopamine. Before we get caught up in a negative view of dopamine, it's important to understand that dopamine itself is not the enemy. On the contrary, dopamine is a crucial part of the brain system that is essential for our survival, providing motivation and enabling us to achieve our goals. When managed properly, dopamine can bring significant positive impacts to our lives. Dopamine plays a huge role in motivation and achievement. Every time we set a goal and accomplish it, our brain gives us a dopamine boost. This gives us a sense of accomplishment and the drive to keep going. Without dopamine, we might feel sluggish, unmotivated, and lose the drive to do anything. Dopamine is the fuel that allows us to act, plan, and work hard to achieve what we want. Without this drive, we may find ourselves stuck in a state of laziness or indifference toward the world around us. For example, when someone achieves something important, such as getting a promotion at work or completing a major project, dopamine releases a sense of satisfaction that lingers in their memory. This is what drives them to continue their efforts and set new goals. Dopamine also plays a role in the learning process. When we learn something new and successfully understand a concept, our brain releases dopamine as a reward for our effort. This learning process becomes more enjoyable, and we are likely to be more eager to continue our education. However, the positive impact of dopamine isn't just limited to personal achievement. Dopamine also plays a significant role in social relationships. When we interact with others, especially in close relationships, our brain releases dopamine as a form of reward. Positive social interactions, such as talking with close friends or family, can increase our dopamine levels, giving us a sense of connection and emotional closeness. This is one of the reasons why healthy, social relationships are so important for our mental and emotional well-being. Dopamine also plays a role in creativity and innovation. When we engage in creative activities or try something new, our brain produces dopamine as part of the process of searching for solutions and exploring ideas. This gives us a feeling of joy and satisfaction when innovating and creating something new. This is why many artists, scientists, and creators feel driven to keep working despite the challenges they face. Dopamine gives them the satisfaction that comes from the process of creation itself. In sports, dopamine plays an important role in providing the drive to train and compete. When someone trains to achieve fitness goals or participates in a competition, the brain releases dopamine to give them the energy and motivation to keep training. Athletes often feel this dopamine boost as reinforcement to continue their hard training because dopamine gives them a sense of accomplishment and victory that is crucial to competing at the highest level. However, as we know, too much of a good thing can also be harmful. Excessive dopamine or uncontrolled use of the reward system can lead to problems. Still, when we manage dopamine wisely and understand how to use it for good, we can reap great benefits. Dopamine helps us stay motivated, creative, and excited. But without proper control, we can slip into a pattern of endless reward-seeking behavior. So how can we manage dopamine wisely to achieve our goals without falling into the addiction cycle? This is the part we will discuss next: how to control dopamine in our lives. Negative effects of excessive dopamine. As we've discussed before, dopamine plays a crucial role in driving us to take action and achieve our goals. However, an excessive amount of dopamine in our brain can be harmful, leading to detrimental behaviors and creating imbalances that disrupt our lives. When dopamine is released in excess or in unhealthy ways, our brain becomes accustomed to the reward-seeking behavior that is excessive. This can lead to compulsive and harmful behavior, closely resembling addiction. Excess dopamine affects our decision-making and how we respond to external stimuli. We start feeling the need to chase sensations or happiness from external sources, such as through excessive social media consumption, impulsive shopping, or overeating. One of the biggest negative impacts of excessive dopamine is addiction. When our brain is constantly exposed to stimuli that boost dopamine, we begin to feel trapped in a cycle of seeking fleeting happiness that is never fully satisfied. This can result in a decrease in the quality of life, as we start neglecting more important and sustainable aspects of our lives, such as healthy social relationships, productive work, and achieving long-term goals. Excess dopamine can also disrupt our emotional balance. When our brain becomes accustomed to high levels of stimulation, we start feeling dissatisfied or anxious when there isn't enough external stimulation. Feelings of boredom or emptiness can arise when we don't receive the dopamine hit we expect. This is why many people feel anxious or restless when they don't check their phones, or feel stuck in a monotonous routine without new sensations. Moreover, excess dopamine can negatively affect our mental health. One of the most common effects is anxiety or depression. When we constantly chase dopamine sources without allowing time for rest or recovery, we can feel overwhelmed. Signs like restlessness, dissatisfaction, and dependency on external stimuli are the result of uncontrolled excess dopamine. In many cases, this leads to feelings of emptiness or deeper mental exhaustion. Substance abuse is also closely linked to dopamine. Drugs like cocaine, amphetamines, and heroin work by significantly increasing dopamine levels in the brain. While the effects may feel rewarding initially, long-term use leads to a reduced capacity of the brain to respond to natural dopamine stimulation. This creates a strong dependency, where individuals feel they need the substance to experience happiness or satisfaction. The negative effects of excessive dopamine can also manifest in impulsive behaviors. When we become accustomed to fast and intense stimulation, we start seeking ways to obtain instant gratification without considering the consequences. This can result in harmful habits like gambling, overeating, or excessive social media use. These behaviors often serve as an escape from uncomfortable feelings, but they ultimately exacerbate the problems in the long run. Another impact that cannot be overlooked is its influence on our ability to focus and complete more important tasks. When our brain is frequently exposed to high levels of stimulation that generate large amounts of dopamine, we become more easily distracted. Our ability to concentrate on long-term tasks or those that require greater effort becomes impaired. This affects our productivity, both in work and in personal life, making it harder to tackle larger challenges. However, it is important to remember that this excessive dopamine can be avoided and managed with a more mindful approach. Understanding how our brain works and recognizing the signs of dopamine addiction are the first steps toward better control. In the next section, we will discuss how we can manage dopamine in healthier ways without sacrificing the quality of our lives. How to control dopamine. Controlling dopamine is not an easy task, considering how strongly it influences our behavior and decision-making. However, with the right understanding and a well-planned strategy, we can balance our dopamine levels and use them to enhance our quality of life. Here are several ways we can manage dopamine to avoid falling into harmful behavioral patterns. 1. Limit fast and excessive stimulation. One of the main ways to control dopamine is by reducing exposure to fast and excessive stimulation. Social media, viral videos, and highly stimulating games can trigger massive dopamine releases. If we are constantly exposed to such stimuli, we get used to high dopamine levels, making it harder to enjoy quieter, more focused activities. Try to limit the time you spend on social media. Reduce your consumption of overly entertaining but empty content, and switch to more productive and challenging activities. This will help your brain recalibrate to healthier, more natural dopamine levels and improve your ability to focus on more meaningful tasks. 2. Practice mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness and meditation have been proven to help regulate Dopamine levels in the brain. When we meditate, we train our brain to be more present in the current moment instead of constantly seeking external stimulation. Meditation calms our nervous system, reduces stress, and helps regulate hormones and neurotransmitters, including dopamine. Moreover, mindfulness makes us more aware of our thoughts and emotions, and how we respond to external stimuli. By becoming more conscious, we can make wiser choices about what we focus on in life and avoid impulsive behaviors driven by excess dopamine. 3. Set meaningful and challenging goals. One of the best ways to manage dopamine is by setting meaningful and challenging long-term goals. Clear, purposeful goals give us a stronger and deeper sense of achievement. When we reach these goals, our brain releases dopamine as a reward, motivating us to keep progressing. However, it's important to ensure that these goals are realistic and require genuine effort. Goals that are too easy or too difficult can lead to dissatisfaction or frustration. By setting challenging but attainable goals, we give our brain the opportunity to experience dopamine release in a positive and meaningful way, without falling into the trap of chasing instant gratification. 4. Establish healthy and consistent routines. Creating a healthy daily routine is an effective way to regulate dopamine. Physical activity, sufficient sleep, nutritious food, and maintaining healthy social relationships all affect dopamine levels. For example, physical exercise naturally boosts dopamine production and gives us a sense of happiness and well-being. Additionally, getting enough sleep is crucial for regulating dopamine. Poor sleep can decrease the brain's sensitivity to dopamine, making us more prone to addiction and impulsive behavior. Aim to sleep between 7 to 9 hours each night to maintain your brain's chemical balance. 5. Allow time for recovery and rest. Allowing time for rest is essential for maintaining dopamine balance. After engaging in activities or experiencing intense external stimulation, our brain needs time to recover and reset its dopamine levels. This means giving ourselves a break from highly stimulating activities like watching TV, gaming, or endlessly scrolling through social media. Taking time for more calming activities, such as reading a book, walking in nature, or having meaningful conversations, can help lower stress levels and rebalance dopamine in our brain. 6. Manage expectations and appreciate the process. It's important to understand that achievement and happiness do not come instantly. Constantly chasing quick and easy gratification diminishes the quality of our life experiences. Instead, appreciating the process and enjoying the journey towards our goals provides a deeper and longer-lasting sense of accomplishment. When we learn to value the process, we become more patient and wise in managing our expectations, avoiding the excessive craving for quick and sensational results. This helps us reduce dependency on instant dopamine hits and stay focused on more meaningful, long-term goals. 7. Practice gratitude and focus on the positive. Practicing daily gratitude can help balance dopamine in a healthy way. When we take time to appreciate the small things in life, we naturally enhance our sense of satisfaction and happiness. This encourages the brain to release dopamine positively, giving us the motivation to continue feeling good about ourselves and our lives. In this way, we learn to appreciate what we already have rather than constantly chasing something bigger or more sensational that could come at a cost. This helps us maintain emotional balance and greater mental health stability. Now that you know how dopamine works and how to control it, what's the first step you're going to take? Maybe you're feeling a bit more aware of how our behavior patterns can be influenced by dopamine. Or maybe you've already started thinking about how to reduce your social media use or other forms of instant stimulation. But before you go and start applying all these tips, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever felt trapped in a high dopamine cycle? Or maybe you have your own methods that you find effective for regulating dopamine levels? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'm really excited to read about how dopamine has impacted your life and what tips or tricks you use to manage stress and stay focused. And if you found this information helpful and want more content on fascinating topics like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Here we'll continue to share insights into psychology, human behavior, and practical ways to improve our quality of life. So make sure you join our community and stay active in the comments to contribute to deeper discussions. You don't want to miss out on future exciting discussions that can help you better understand yourself, right? By subscribing, you'll always get updates whenever we upload new videos exploring interesting and useful topics. And of course, if you think this video could benefit others, don't hesitate to share it with your friends who also want to learn more about managing dopamine and living a healthier, more balanced life. The more people who understand this, the greater our collective chance at achieving a happier and more stable life. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you that life isn't just about chasing instant gratification or fleeting sensations. It's a long journey toward deeper and more lasting happiness. Dopamine can be a great ally, but only if we learn to manage it wisely. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's the first step you're going to take to start managing your dopamine? Have you already tried some of the tips we discussed? Leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep sharing valuable knowledge together. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you found some useful insights in today's video. See you in the next one.